Hey everyone, it's Leanne. Welcome to another video on my YouTube channel. Today I'm doing a card for my mom. It's a birthday card, and I'm using this really cute stamp set from the Greeting Farm called Oh Dragon. So here's a look at that stamp set. This is so cute. I love all the little dragons, and I just love the designs overall. I'm going to use this rainbow pack from Lawn Fawn as well for my background, and I have these scallop rectangles that I'm also going to use to punch out the main part of the card background. I also have the market cubes from Lawn Fawn, and I thought this purple would be a really nice one to use with the background rainbows. I didn't end up using the market cubes, but I did want to show them anyways. And I also have some Nina Solar White cardstock, and I'm going to use that for my Copic coloring. So let's get started. So to begin, I have my side folded card, just an A2 size, and I have this rectangle die that will fit nicely on the card and still leave room for a border. I'm going to put the die down, but right now I'm going to work on the background first. So out of the rainbow pack, I picked the purple page of the little rainbow scallops. My mom really loves the color purple, so I thought that would be great to use in her card. So I'm going to put some two-way tape on the base of my card, and then making sure I have the pattern side facing the right way, I'm going to flip that over and then attach the card to the base of that paper. So now I'm going to trim it up, and I'm just going to use my ruler and X-Acto knife. I like to use a metal ruler because it has a nice strong edge, and with the X-Acto knife, if I had a plastic ruler, it might cut into it. So I really love this ruler, and I like to turn it over so that the cork back doesn't create extra room for the knife blade to wobble and not give me a really crisp straight cut. Here I have the background already, and I can work on the main part of the card next. I'm going to put down the die and just measure out the page size that I need for this and trim off the excess and save that for another project. I have the rectangle die in place. I'm using some Post-it tape that's not very sticky, but it'll hold it in place enough to run it through my Sizzix Big Kick machine. With this little scallops have little centers, and sometimes they don't always poke out through the die cutting process. I have this little pokey tool that I've had since I think, gosh, I want to say toll painting. I think that's where I got it. And so I use that, and it's super handy just to poke out those circles. I'm going to do my stamping now. I'm going to start with my dragon. He's the biggest part of the card. And by putting him on the scene first, I can build everything around him, and he gives the best space. I can just get a better spacing of elements. It's easier to sneak in a few smaller elements than start small and then not have room for your big pieces. I have these little gemstones in the grass. I'm going to stamp those beside my dragon and do kind of a scene with him. And then I'm going to put the sentiment up in the top right corner. Now, the impression of the stamp didn't really come out clean on the dragon. I've picked up my micron pen, and I'm just going over the lines a little bit just to freshen those up. The micron pen will still work well with the Copics. It won't bleed, so I do like to use those in a pinch just if I've got a stamp that didn't come out quite perfect. Now I'm doing my Copic coloring, and I'm sped up the process, but I've included the entire process of my coloring if you do want to see. I've sped this up about 400%, so I think if you can slow down the playback on the video around 4 times, it'll show you the actual real-time process. I'm starting with the base, and I'm just laying down some really soft, creamy, light green colors. I'm going to come in with some darker greens as well to beef up the grass, but I did just want to establish my foundation before I started coloring. And I want to make this more of a scene. I don't want my elements floating around in that white space. For my dragon, I did pick some colors that I thought complemented the color of my background. I really want to pull those colors in together and kind of keep the purple theme going. With purple being my mom's favorite color, I picked a nice light purple to do as my dragon base. And then I thought it would be really neat to bring in some blues that were close to that purple for the shadows and really beef up those shadow areas. As I'm coloring here, I'm just thinking about the curvature of the dragon and where those shadows are going to fall on his figure. So I have my light source coming from the top right corner. So all of my shadows are going to come from the bottom left and kind of curve around the dragon areas like his little tail and his arms and create that curvature. For the wings, I'm doing this peach tone that's sort of on the red side, but still has more of a peach pinkish base. And that allows me to come in with this really fun pink color for the shadows, something a little bit deeper, more on the magenta side, just to add a little bit more interest in those small details that I'm adding here. I'm coming back in with just some touch-ups, adding some little blush on his cheeks. and he's about ready. I've got him done. With that, I'm going to start working on the gemstones next. I do want to use a few of the colors that I used in my dragon just to bring those spot colors in and distribute them around the scene a little bit so they looked a little more balanced and so that the gemstones don't feel totally alienated from the rest of the picture. I am bringing in the peach color first, and then doing a bit of the purple and blue gemstone on the right here. The trick with coloring the gemstones is to do some really light facets and really dark facets too. So when you look at a gemstone, it always has a lot of edges, and the light will all hit them differently. Some will be really bright and white almost, and some will be really dark and saturated. So just picking out the different facets and making sure that the edges of each of those facets don't touch in the same color. I want to have a light next to a dark, not a light next to a light, for example. With the facets as well in the coloring, I've added some gradients. So adding some of the darker part of my markers down and gradiating them up to a softer, brighter blend at the top in different spots of the faucet, just to give a bit more dimension to those gemstones. So they're not just flat colors, they do have a light dark gradient on each of the faucets, just in different tones. With the left side gemstone, I'm going to do it in a more of a pink tone as well. This color isn't really represented in the dragon, but it is in the same family of those pinks. It kind of is a blend between the light bluish purple I've been using and the peach tones. So if those two colors were mixed together, I imagine that I'd get something closer to this mauve kind of pink color that I'm using. So it is a nice complement. And then I'm coming in with some really deep, rich shadows to bring up those that look of those gemstones. As an added detail, I like to come in with my white gel pen and just add some highlight lines. Usually with these gemstones, because the shape is more rectilinear, it's going to have really sharp edges and sharp highlights. So just white lines is perfect for this. And then if I've colored over any of the edges of those drawn lines that are black, I just touch them up with my micron pen, and that makes them look more realistic. Now I'm coming in with the different colors of each of those gemstones and adding some rays coming off them, I guess they'd be. Just the light reflecting because they're so bright and shiny, just to give more of that illusion or perception that they are really blingy and bright. I'm going to do that with my dragon too because he's pretty fabulous, or she's pretty fabulous. And so I'm going to carry out that kind of accent just around the edges. I'm going to bring in my Wink of Stella brush in clear glitter, and I love this so much. It's made by Zig, and they have some really fantastic markers and art markers and pens. And I've had this brush forever. It just seems to never run out, and I hope now that I've said that it doesn't, but I just like to use it for accents. And I'm just doing some touches around the dragon and, of course, on those gemstones. It doesn't take much. It's got a lot of liquid in it, and it's really, I don't want to say it's runny, but it comes out really well. So it's really quick to add, and it doesn't take a lot of work, and it dries fast too. I'm going to put on some foam tape just to give this a little bit more dimension and pop. And I love foam tape, and it's just a nice added accent. Because I don't have to send this in the mail, I don't have to worry too much about the height of my card, so the foam tape is pretty fun to add. I'm going to get that all peeled off. I'm going to come in with my X-Acto knife and just hold the back of that with the tape, and it just helps me position it a little bit better without my hands being in the way trying to center it. And then once I have that ready, I'm just going to push that down and make sure it's all tacked and stuck to the background. So here's a look at the card, and I'm just going to hold it in the light. You can see the glitter from that brush pen. It's so pretty. And I do believe this comes in other colors too. I've only ever bought the clear, but it might be worth checking out to see the other colors too. Maybe there's a color that you use quite frequently that would be a nice accent to add to your collection. So here's a look at the final card with the dragon all colored and the scene. I had so much fun creating this. Sometimes it's nice just to dive into your Copic collection and just do a nice coloring piece that's not so much full of accents and dyes, but you just have a lot of fun creating that scene and doing the coloring, and I certainly did with this card. It's so much fun. I hope you enjoyed the look at this video. I definitely have to say too that my mom is definitely a treasure, and so this stamp set and this card was perfect for her and for her birthday. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you're notified as I post more videos to my channel. Thank you so much for watching.